was late at night. The village had already sunk into darkness after the electricity went out, and the sky above was filled with countless stars. Saif sat quietly on a worn-out charpai outside his mud house, staring into the silence. The cool air carried the smell of soil, but inside his chest there was only heaviness. His eyes were full of questions, and his mind kept repeating one painful thought. Is this all my life will ever be? Saif was poor, but his poverty was not just about money. It was about hope slowly slipping away. His father traveled to the city every day to work as a laborer and returned exhausted, saying only one thing: "Son, as long as we survive, it is enough." His mother managed the house silently, as if she had made peace with hardship. Saif watched them closely, feeling their struggles deeply, yet he never found the courage to speak. He was good at his studies, but in the village, education was considered a waste of time. People often said, "Degrees do not fill empty stomachs." Every day when Saif came home from school, someone's words cut into his heart. Slowly, his dreams began to fade. He learned how to smile in front of others, but inside, he felt himself breaking a little more each day. One afternoon, his uncle arrived from the city wearing clean clothes and a confident smile. He spoke of factories, machines, and steady income. Looking at Saif, he said, "Come with me tomorrow morning. Learn some work, earn money." For the first time, Saif saw a clear path ahead, yet that night, sleep refused to come to him. As he lay awake, his mother's words echoed in his mind. Big decisions are not made with the mind alone, but with the heart as well. The factory promised quick money, but it also meant burying his dreams. Education meant patience, struggle, and uncertainty. His heart pounded loudly, as if he were standing at the edge of a life-changing exam. With the first call to prayer at dawn, Saif sat up. The sky was slowly turning light. His father noticed him and asked gently, "Have you decided?" Saif took a deep breath. This was the moment where two paths stood before him. One was easy and familiar, the other difficult and unknown. One offered immediate money, the other long-term hope. Images flashed before his eyes, and his own childhood dream of becoming something more. He realized that if he made the wrong choice today, he might never be able to face himself again. The weight of the decision pressed heavily on his chest. His father spoke again. "Whatever you choose, choose wisely." Saif remained silent, but his silence was not weakness. He was listening to his inner voice. Every hard decision breaks the heart first, but then it builds strength. For the first time, Saif felt like his life was truly in his own hands. Finally, he spoke softly. "Father, I want to continue my education." The words were quiet, yet powerful. His father said nothing for a long moment, then replied, "The road will be hard." Saif nodded, as if to say, "I know, but I am ready." That morning, Saif did more than speak a sentence. He changed the direction of his life. He did not know what awaited him ahead, but he knew one thing clearly. He had not lied to himself. And sometimes, one honest decision is enough to slowly begin transforming an entire life. The weeks that followed were not easy. Saif continued going to school, but the weight of his decision followed him everywhere. While other boys his age earned small wages and brought money home, he carried only books and dreams that no one could see. Every evening, as he walked back through the dusty village paths, he wondered if courage alone was enough to feed a family. At home, silence had a different meaning now. His father spoke less, not out of anger, but worry. His mother tried to hide her fear behind gentle smiles, serving food with the same calm hands. Saif noticed how carefully she measured the flour, how often she stretched a meal to last one more day. Guilt wrapped around his heart like a tightrope, yet he reminded himself why he had chosen this path. In school, the pressure grew stronger. Teachers expected results, and Saif pushed himself harder than ever before. He studied under dim lantern light, his eyes burning, his head heavy with exhaustion. There were nights when tears fell onto his notebooks, blurring the words. In those moments, he questioned everything. "What if I fail?" He whispered into the darkness. No answer ever came. One day, humiliation struck him deeply. During class, a teacher asked for the examination fee, and Saif stood frozen. He did not have the money. Laughter spread across the room, soft at first, then louder. His face burned with shame as he lowered his head. That evening, he returned home broken, his steps slow, his spirit wounded. Seeing his son's pain, Saif's father made a decision of his own. Without telling anyone, he began working longer hours, sometimes returning late at night with trembling hands and tired eyes. When Saif noticed the change, his heart sank. He realized that his dream was being paid for with his father's strength. The realization hurt more than hunger ever had. There were moments when Saif thought of quitting. The factory still existed. The offers still waited. One word from him could end this struggle, but each time the thought appeared, he remembered the morning he chose truth over fear. He reminded himself that pain with purpose is different from pain without hope. Slowly, small signs of light appeared. Saif began ranking higher in his class. The teacher noticed his dedication and offered him extra books. Another teacher spoke words of encouragement that stayed with him for days. These moments did not change his situation overnight, but they kept his fire alive. Hope, he learned, often arrives quietly. At home, his mother began to believe again. She started telling neighbors, "My son studies hard." Her voice carried pride, even when her eyes carried worry. Saif felt a responsibility greater than ever before. He was no longer studying just for himself. He was carrying the dreams of his entire family. One evening, as Saif walked back from school, he looked at the sky glowing with sunset colors. For the first time in months, he smiled without forcing it. The road was still long, and the struggles were far from over. But deep inside, he felt something new growing, a silent confidence, telling him that endurance today could become freedom tomorrow. That night, as he closed his books and lay down to rest, Saif whispered a promise to himself. "I will not give up." The world around him remained harsh and uncertain, but his heart had grown stronger, and with every passing day, he was learning that real growth often begins in the most painful chapters of life. Years passed, and life slowly began to change its rhythm. Saif was no longer the quiet village boy who sat on a sharp eye questioning his worth. He had grown into a young man shaped by sacrifice, patience, and countless sleepless nights. The road he chose had tested him at every step, but it had also carved strength into his character. Every hardship he endured became a silent lesson that no classroom could ever teach. The day Saif received the letter confirming his final results, his hands trembled. He read the words again and again, afraid they might disappear. "Had passet," not just barely, but with honor. Tears rolled down his face as years of pain, doubt, and effort came rushing back. This piece of paper was not just a result, it was proof that his struggle had meaning. When he brought the news home, his father listened quietly. Then, for the first time in Saif's life, he saw tears in his father's eyes. His mother held the paper close to her chest, as if it were something sacred. That evening, their home felt warmer, not because of wealth, but because hope had finally entered their lives. Opportunities followed slowly, not magically. Saif took small jobs, taught younger students, and continued learning. Each step forward was built on humility and persistence. He never forgot the days of hunger, the nights of doubt, or the shame he once felt in class. Those memories kept him grounded, reminding him where he came from. One day, Saif returned to his village as a changed man. Children gathered around him, curious and inspired. He spoke to them softly, telling them that fear is natural, but surrender is a choice. His words carried weight because they were born from experience, not imagination. For the first time, the village listened. Saif's father no longer worked himself to exhaustion. His mother smiled more often, her face lighter than before. Their struggles had not vanished completely, but they were no longer trapped in survival. They were finally living with dignity. Saif understood then that success is not about escaping hardship alone, but about lifting others with you. Late one evening, Saif stood outside his old mud house, now quiet and still. The stars above looked the same as they had years ago, but he was different. He realized that the night he once questioned his life had been the beginning, not the end. Pain had not broken him, it had prepared him. He reflected on how close he had come to choosing the easy road. If he had done that, his days might have been safer, but his soul would have remained restless. True peace, he learned, comes from honoring your inner voice, even when the world doubts you. The hardest paths often lead to the most meaningful destinations. Saif's story was never about sudden success or luck. It was about endurance, about believing when belief was expensive, about choosing growth over comfort and purpose over fear. He learned that time will test everyone, but it rewards those who stay honest to their dreams. As the wind moved gently through the fields, Saif closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He felt gratitude, not just for the victories, but for the struggles that shaped him. Because, in the end, it was not the absence of pain that changed his life. It was the courage to keep moving forward despite it.